Brett Hall, Jamie, like all those Blues alumni, just the stories of them getting hammered is absolutely fantastic. That guy can put away some alcohol, that's for sure.
Yes, he can. He must have that same Neanderthal gene that Ozzy Osbourne has.
And ironically, they both made the Blues a big deal.
Yeah,
that's true.
This is true.
Yeah.
Brett Hall is everybody's favorite drunk uncle.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back for the 46th episode of the Ride the Pine podcast. I am Sean Sproat. That is Adam Freeman and Kenny Hutton. Boys, happy anniversary. Do you guys know what we're celebrating?
Oh, absolutely.
I think we're celebrating one of the most glorious anniversaries ever.
It is the anniversary of the St. Louis Blues winning the Stanley Cup in 2019. Arguably, I'm just going to speak for all of us, probably the greatest day of our lives. I know you have children and all, but I think it's up there.
I think I cried more on that day than I did when both of my children were born, so that's okay.
I think you're right, too.
But that's a different kind of emotion, right?
I was trying to think back. So, like, obviously, we have the Rams winning the Super Bowl. I think we were all pretty young at that point. You know, like, what, I think I was 12, something like that when they won.
How old were you when you were in fifth grade? Because I'm pretty sure. Oh, wait, hold on.
I was 10.
Or was it middle school?
Yeah, no, we were in fifth or sixth grade, something like that.
Okay.
It was 99. That's when they won.
Mm.
It was January of 99.
So okay, maybe that's why. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got obviously the two World Series, 06 and 11. I think 11 was cool because I got to be there for the clincher. I think that's pretty awesome there. But in reality, like in St. Louis history for our generation, if you're a sports fan, the Blues winning the Cup has to be number one.
Has to be.
Yeah, I think it's because of the drought and that it took so long, especially after being teased. If you were, 67, 68, 69, I think they went back in 70. Like they went to 4 straight cups and then never sniffed it again until 2019. So obviously the longevity there was something, that people were pandering for a long time.
And also our generation, the 25 straight playoffs as well. And just feeling like you every single year during that 25-year run, like this is the year and just coming up short.
There's nothing that pains me more than seeing Steve Yzerman shot over.
I was just going to say that.
Yep.
Bad.
Oh, what's that?
John Casey shoulder.
John Casey. I wanted to call him Casey Jones, like he was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy.
Not Casey Anthony either.
You.
First name.
And to relive that every year because that is like my earliest memory.
Best Game 7 moments ever.
No, yeah, it is. But
I mean, when you factor in the overtime win, the clinch of that series, the fact that I think that team for the Blues is along with the President's Trophy team. What that was 2000, correct? Was the President's Trophy team? That team should have went to the Cup.
1, I think.
2001. That's right. Yeah. But that team that lost to the Red Wings had Gretzky on it. Mm-hmm. Like that team probably should have won the Cup. You think of the Mike Keenan years, the Quinville years, like all of the opportunities that franchise has had to be able to get there, to get to the Western Conference Finals. 2 years before? I think it was
15.
15. So 4 years before. I mean, so close, and then to get there and to have a series and to have a run like they did, like the run that they went through of the horrific incident against San Jose with the hand pass, absolutely terrible. You have now you talk about Game 7s, the Dallas Stars Game 7, the winner with Pat Maroon, And then to play the Bruins, the team that's probably the second best option to win the cup, actually probably the best option to win the cup that year.
Before all of that, though, before you even make to the playoffs, they were in last place on January 1st, right? So to make that run, to even get to be in that position to play in the playoffs, that's what made that special too, because pretty much all of us had ridden them out by the turn of the year.
And obviously we're a little biased, so I'm going to throw this at Sean. What is the greater run? The Leicester winning the English Premier League, or the Blues marching back, making the playoffs and winning the Stanley Cup, being the last place team on January 1st?
I mean, if you just compare Vegas odds, I think it's Leicester winning the cup.
Because the Blues were a cup favorite to start the year.
Correct. Yeah. I'm gonna go Leicester, but that is tough. That's not an easy pick. I could make an argument either way.
Yeah, so let's talk about that year. The Blues end up clawing back and finishing in third, correct?
I believe so.
Because they played Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you want to talk about a series that I think made me pull my hair out. You want to see why I'm bald? It started with the Winnipeg, and it actually probably ended with the hand pass game, but we'll get to that. What a series. Like, the perseverance, and then they basically run the Jets out of the rink. So
yeah, I think that was the moment that you start to believe, because Winnipeg is a tough team no matter when you play them. Winnipeg is a tough out no matter what. And then Schwartz he had a hat trick, right?
It was a 6-game series, so it was in game 6, but we went up 2-0. We won both games in Winnipeg. And that's whenever, like, just personally, I was thinking, like, we're fucking back. Like, I was stoked. And then we lose the next 2. And that's whenever it sets in. Oh my God, we're doing it again.
I remember, so we were covering Kansas City as part of my day job. And game 4, I believe, I was texting with Adam, our buddy Charlie, and his brother Kyle. And I think I said some of the most vile, heinous shit about the Blues I could have. Because, like, I'm driving, I'm sleep deprived. I'm trying to just get to the first, like, exit in Kansas City to get to my hotel. And I'm just listening to them lose. And I'm like, fuck this. We're going to do it again. We're going to screw this up. And Adam's like, it's only game whatever. I'm like, okay. Positivity from here on out.
Uh-huh.
Woof.
But the crazy thing about that entire run is that if you think about it, we exercise the demon every single round. We beat Winnipeg. Winnipeg's a tough out. We always struggle with San Jose, even this year with a shitty San Jose team, and we still could not beat San Jose. And then you have the Stars. That the Stars are always a tough out. I mean, the only thing better would have been if we would have beat the Blackhawks at some point and that. But in reality, we exercised that demon with the Brouwer series. That was the year or 2 years before that, 3 years before that, right? So and then you play the Bruins.
Blackhawks in that playoff run.
Yeah, but the Bruins knocked us out or took the cup away from us twice. So you look back at that entire run. It is filled with so many moments that just as you literally go game by game by game, it's just going to sit in St. Louis Blues history.
Think about Series 1 against Winnipeg. That you're going up against it at the time. People think, okay, you're facing a dominating goaltender, which has knocked the Blues out so many times. You can think of the Red Wings with Osgood back in the day. And so we exercise that. Then we go to Dallas and finally win a Game 7, which we just did not do before that point. Then we go to San Jose and just dominate a series. We go down 1-2. And then from that point, that overtime loss in Game 3, it was a completely different team. In my 30-something odd years of watching the St. Louis Blues play hockey, I've never seen anything like that. I don't know if I ever will again.
That was, man. I guess we look back on it fondly, though. Like, I mean, it's really easy to. It's fantastic. But, like, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing that I can say about it, though. Like, I'm trying to find a negative. Like, man, they could have done this better and they could have done that. But they did everything they needed to do. And that's what it takes to win the Stanley Cup. right? Like game 3 in the Western Conference Finals. Again, I'm in Kansas City. I'm sitting at the bar watching the game as the 2 bartenders are giving me shit. They're like, we're Sharks fans, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I got to leave this place. I go to my Homewood Suites that doesn't have NBCS or whatever it was at the time, or Versus or whatever it is. So watch it on my iPad. This is a company-owned iPad at the time. And it gets chucked across the room when the hand pass happens. I think I was more upset than the players. Like, but the joy that it brought me to just have them pour it on in game 6. Was it game 6 or was it game 5?
In the Shark series, it was game 5. Well, both really. Game 5 was 5-0, and then game 6, which is the clincher, was 5-1.
It must have been the game 5, because I remember this was like the worst week. I had driven out to Kansas City only to drive back and then go back for a weekend with the family. And just listening to that game on the radio, just being like, yes, this is amazing.
And it's not even like Bennington stood on his head the entire playoffs. That's goes without saying, which is something really we had never had. But it's not just that; it's the performances all the way up and down the lineup, from Parayko, Bouwmeester, O'Reilly, Schwartz with a hat trick, Bozak, Bortuzzo, Shen, Gunnarsson. Like everyone showed up.
I don't think there is a player that you can pinpoint on that team where you say they didn't factor in to a win or a major moment somehow.
Yeah.
And let's go to the best moment that shows just like when one person can take over a game. The first 5 minutes of game 7 against the Bruins. Bennington literally stands on his head.
Oh, yeah.
And he is the reason that we win the Stanley Cup. That game probably should have been 3-0 in the first 5 minutes. Easily 3-0. And you have save after save after save. Momentum shifts, a goal to go ahead. And then Petro scores with 5 seconds left on the clock to finish the first period. And at that point, you knew it was over. That just eliminated the spirits of Boston.
And even that's what I'm talking about, though. If we look, so there's 2 plays in game 7 that really stand out to me, right? The second goal, Schwartz skates into the zone. Marchand gives up on the play. Pietrangelo fills the gap. Schwartz sees that, because whatever they were doing, they were always looking backwards. Schwartz sees that, passes it, bing, bang, thank you, ma'am. Tarasenko does the same thing on the third goal to Braden Shen. Before the contact is made, and I don't remember who hits him, he looks back over his shoulder, he sees Shen, and just like, boop, and right in the wheelhouse. Like, they did everything right. The little stuff they did right, even when they lost games, you never felt like they were out of it, with the exception of game 3 where they get absolutely blown out. But you can always forgive a team like for a situation like that, right?
That happens. That happens at least once or twice for a team that makes it that far. Yeah.
Well, you're coming home, and now the pressure is on you to provide tickets for your family, to get the city a win, right? Like the momentum or the
expectations.
The expectations start weighing down on you. So I totally understand it in that scenario. Plus, Cameron went to that game, and he always ruins it for us.
Always,
that's true.
100%. So, Kenny,
we should have led with that.
That team did exactly what they needed to do to win the Stanley Cup. Transition to 2024, a team that is doing exactly what they need to do the Stanley Cup. And honestly, Kenny, you've said it before, and I 100% agree with you. Doing it the exact same way, being physical, putting the puck on the net. Currently, the Florida Panthers are up 2-0 on the Edmonton Oilers, and I think this series is over. I said it in our group text. I think it goes 5 games. I think Edmonton gets 1 win in Edmonton and comes back to Florida, and Florida takes game 5 and wins it.
I mean, I will say this. Everybody was shocked when I said I think the Rangers were out of it in the Eastern Conference Finals. I remember there were a couple gasps like, oh, my God, no way. And Kenny was right. The only thing I will truly be concerned about there's two things. For both teams is the travel, right? This is maybe the longest, the furthest teams have been apart since 11 when Boston played Vancouver.
It's the longest travel in sports finals history, according to this team.
Yeah. That's wow.
I guess that would be right. Edmonton's a little bit further north than I'm thinking of. So you've got that as a factor. And in North American sports, it's always a factor. I will really, the one thing I'm going to watch in game 3 is if Barkov doesn't play, can that line continue to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl? Because that's what they've been doing so far. I don't know what McDavid actually has as far as point production goes, but it's not where you need it to be if you're Edmonton and you need to win, when you consider that your bottom 3 defensemen are Nurse and CC, right? Like 2 of the 3. What's the other
Nurse
kid's name?
Play much the other night. Nurse only played like 12 minutes or something like that.
As he shouldn't. He should be prosecuted for bank robbery because he is just stealing money from Edmonton with a $9.25 million contract. He's a 6th defenseman. That's bad on Ken Holland, though.
I've kind of gone down a rabbit hole of looking up the longest distances of sport finals, and I'm
excellent.
I'm questioning that because there were years where, like, when Seattle, the Seahawks were in the final, or like when Seattle Sounders played Toronto for like 4 straight years in MLS Cup. I'm questioning it.
Yeah, but nobody counts the MLS.
I know.
I know. And I don't know, do they even factor that in with the Super Bowl? Because usually the Super Bowl is at a different location and the teams aren't traveling.
I don't think they do Super
Probably
Bowl.
not.
I mean,
but even then, you
have an extra day built into the scheduling.
Yeah,
that's why the Stanley Cup isn't going to be awarded until like after Chandler and McGregor fight on the 29th. Like,
it's going to be basically the start of next season.
Yeah. So are we all writing Edmonton off then? Are we all calling it?
I'm not going to write them off because, like Kenny said, not having
you just said they were losing in 5.
Well, yeah, but Kenny brings up a great point. If Barkov is out, if he's out long term, that's a big deal. It changes everything. I still think it's 5 games. Don't get me wrong, but if Barkov doesn't play in the next 2 games, that changes everything.
What? I guess my question for you then is what do you consider writing off Edmonton? Because right now, obviously, the lead feels insurmountable. I think Edmonton could still win 2 games. The problem is if now the Panthers continue the push and play physical, and if Barkov can play, that's when I consider starting to write them off. Right?
Writing off would be you saying that Edmonton has no chance of winning this series whatsoever. That it's
the
basically
only chance that Edmonton have is if Barkov is out indefinitely. That's the only chance they have, because that changes everything with that team. You think of, he is on the ice almost minute for minute with McDavid and Draisaitl. That's anytime they hop on the ice for a PK, he's there, and for sure when they're on the ice for a minute and 25 seconds of a power play, he's on the ice taking that face off and winning that draw. I think it was right before he got elbowed. It was him and Draisaitl on offensive zone for face off for Edmonton. They had faced each other and they literally were 50-50. Like, to have that domination, or not domination, but to have that level of a center to go up against that level of a center makes a huge difference. And having somebody that can play 2 ways it makes it so much easier for them to be able to do things on other lines. And that team is so much deeper. They're so much more physical. They throw the puck on the net. I mean, Skinner is just getting blasted with shots. And then we talk about Binnington being huge for us. They've got Bobrovsky, and he has been absolutely on fire in the playoffs.
I mean, to kind of just play devil's advocate, right? Connor McDavid still plays for the Edmonton Oilers.
Right.
Like, there are things that can happen, right? McDavid could take the team and put them on his shoulders. The issue is ultimately the defensive core and the fact that Stuart Skinner is okay, right? Like, we always talk about you need a top 12 quarterback to win the Super Bowl. I think you need a top 8, maybe even 6 goaltender to win the Stanley Cup. If you judge all 16 teams that were in the playoffs, I would argue Skinner's in that bottom third.
Yeah, but that's not fair because I think like all of the bottom third is the Vancouver goalies. They used like 8. There's nothing they could do. I'm sure they had an e-bug ready to go a couple times. Like that would have been incredible. If we could have got an e-bug in a Game 7 situation, I think the internet would have exploded.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what is everybody's predictions for the remainder of the season or series then?
I think Edmonton will get 1 of the next 2 in Edmonton.
Okay.
I think they upset in Florida the next game, so that would be Game 5, and then I think Edmonton puts it away in Game 6.
Wait, you're saying Edmonton comes back?
I'm going to say Edmonton will be down 3-1, make it 3-2 in Florida,
and then
lose. And then Florida will lift the cup in Edmonton in Game 6.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I like that scenario.
Florida's lifting the cup at home in Game 5.
Yeah.
So which one of these next ones are they losing then? Are they losing on the 13th, this next game, or 2 days later on June 15th?
I think they lose game. The Barkov injury. I think they lose. Originally, my thought was Game 4 because I see Game 3 being a lot like the Blues Game 3 at home. They come back to Edmonton. There's that all the expectation of the Canadian team in the Stanley Cup getting the cup back. You have, even though you have teams like Calgary and Vancouver that are going to 100% admit that they're not cheering for Edmonton, guess what? They are cheering for Edmonton. Like, it's a Canadian team. They are cheering for them. Like, that entire country is going to be watching that game, focused, trying to be there, and I think they lay a turd. I think Game 4, you get a team that comes back out, re-energized. They get a better team. That I think Edmonton wins Game 4, and then Florida comes back home and just absolutely annihilates them.
See, I think I'm flipping that because I think the first game back in Edmonton after the travel, I just don't think this offense is going to just continue to lay down like they are. At some point, they're going to catch fire. At some point, this power play is going to get going. I think it probably happens in Game 3 for me.
You know, nobody is factoring in the fact, though, that Florida has played in Tampa. They played. Man, Charlie.
They've only played in the Eastern time zone.
No,
they've only left the state of Florida 4 or 6 times.
I mean, that's pretty awesome for them, right?
It is.
Yeah. But what my point is going to be this is that they played the Lightning, who had a top 5 power play production in the playoffs. Then they turn around and played Boston, who also had a top 5 production in the playoffs. Then they played the Rangers, who were the top power play of the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. And now they're playing what Charlie said was number 1. I thought they were number 4. Doesn't really matter. Again, another super power play. Yet, before Game 2, had killed off 26 successful PKs in a row.
It was 33 in a row, something like that, before they scored.
Okay, yeah. See, I didn't get to watch like all the game. I kind of was, when it's muted and you're cooking and you're just kind of like keeping an eye on it, you kind of miss some of those things. But yeah, nobody's talking about how good the Florida PK is. I think Barkov, the question of Barkov looms large over the next 2 games, because I could see a scenario where they put him on the bench. They do the Zdeno Chara thing. He might get out there and play a shift or 2 or penalty kill, but his ice time's dramatically down. If they win, I see a scenario where they don't play him in game 4, and that's the game they lose to come home and win game 5.
I wish Cameron was here, because before the season started, whenever we all made our picks, and I think we were all wrong. Did any of us pick Florida, by the way?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we did. But so I wish Cameron was here, because he picked a Canadian team to make it to the Stanley Cup, and we all gave him just the most amount of shit. And just to see a different Canadian team make it to the final than the one that he predicted, which was the Leafs, is just fantastic. So, Cameron, if you're missing or if you're listening, thank you for making that pick.
I still just think of the look my brother gave him when he was on the guest spot, and he was like, "I picked the Leafs," and my brother's like, "Oh boy."
Leafs.
I mean, if you want to talk about the Leafs next year, because I think Craig Berube is going to run those boys through the ringer. They might be a serious contender next year to break my favorite sports trivia fact.
I'm still really worried about their payroll and
not even the payroll, their goalie situation. You just
exactly
said their goalie situation is not much better than what Edmonton's got going on right now. I don't trust Samsonov. That's for sure.
If anyone can do it, it is Berube, but I think he's looking at probably a 3 to 4 year almost rebuild in an attempt to cut some of that payroll and get the team built how he wants it built.
Yeah, assuming they let him do that, because
exactly.
Toronto is the New York of the NHL, right? Like the media in Toronto is insane.
Yeah.
All right, so the last thing, we started us off with the St. Louis flavor. Let's end it with the St. Louis flavor. And Sean, you're going to be the only one that talks about this. The Boston Celtics and the fighting Jason Tatums are up 2-0 in the NBA Finals over Sean's Dallas Mavericks. I don't know much about it. All I know is that I'm pretty sure that Boston won Game 1 by 17. I still stand by my fact that the NBA playoffs should all be 3 games, and that's it. There should not be best of 7s. Nobody cares. It's just too many games. Let's shorten this thing and get it over with. Plus, they sit guys all the time. Like, I'd love to go to a game, but I'm afraid that somebody's going to get set and I'm going to waste a ticket.
Yeah, they don't sit guys in the playoffs.
I don't care. I'm not going to go to a playoff game. That's for sure. Sean, you got any feelings on this? You're the hometown kid.
We talked about writing Edmonton off. I think I'm writing Dallas off. I think the series is over. Now, I'll follow that by saying that no team is going to go into Boston in NBA Finals and win in Boston. Like you could have ridden down 2 wins for the Celtics before the series started for the first 2 games in Boston. It's not going to go like a sweep. I think it is going to go 5-6 games. I'm really worried about Luka and Kyrie finally putting it together. They're in the media making excuses for one another and saying how they really need to, step it up. And I think it's too late. Boston is too deep. Now Zingas Pingus did just get hurt. So that's big. I think Dallas could attack the paint from that point, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's over. Kenny, why are we laughing?
Because when you mentioned Kyrie Irving, and obviously they're playing Boston, and I can't help but think of my favorite tweet, and it is so-and-so from the Boston Globe. Kyrie, the Boston what? Because, he's a flat earther.
I saw something the other day. It was a picture of Luka, like 7 or 8 of the other players, and then Kyrie. And Luka was like, guys, I just put up 30 points. Kyrie, his comment was, guys, they do realize that it is a flat earth, right? And the other guys on the team were like, hey, we're in the NBA Finals. It's like nobody cares except for Luka. I do like watching him play. Like, he is entertaining to watch. That dude can shoot, that's for sure. He's a good player. But Jason Tatum, I like Jason Tatum because he's from St. Louis. I thought it was cool that all the Cardinals in the warm-ups were wearing Jason Tatum jerseys. That's pretty cool. Even though it's still supporting a Boston franchise, it is what it is. I don't have a basketball team, so I can do that. But yeah, I mean, I think in the end, Boston's team reminds me of the Panthers. Just they seem more physical. They seem more with it together. Whereas then you have the Mavericks that are a little bit more flashy, I would say.
They're just a deeper team. The Mavericks get all their scoring from two guys, really one guy. The fact that Boston's up 2-0 right now and Jason Tatum's only averaging 17 points between the two games, he hasn't even gotten going yet. It's just for Dallas to stay in these games. Luka is averaging 31 points. You have to have basically, I'm going to say you have to have a 45 to 50 point night from him for the Mavericks to probably win a game in the series. I think he's going to do that too, by the way. He's just that good. But Boston, top to bottom, they don't need Tatum to win. Dallas need Luka Doncic to win.
Yeah, I mean,
shout out to the schedule makers being able to put an NBA game and then the NHL game on back-to-back nights. Like, we're not idiots
here. What happens when one organization has both of them?
True.
Yeah.
Is his name Jaylen or Jaylon Brown?
Jaylen Brown.
I mean, he is like, that's the factor right there, right? Like,
Sean didn't answer the question. He just said it real fast.
I didn't. It's fine. I'm making a basketball point. You should be more impressed by that. You're right. Tatum doesn't need to go point for point with Luka because Jaylen Brown's there, right? Like, I can't think of who the other guy. I'm going to look him up. Because when I was in Indiana, I was gambling on Celtics games. So
it depends on who you're asking for the Celtics. Are you talking about Kristaps Porzingis? Are you talking about Drew Holiday?
No, I know who he is. I think I was thinking about Drew Holiday.
Okay,
because I know who Porzingis is. He's the big dumb looking motherfucker who got drafted by the Knicks, and everybody thought he was slow.
Who the fuck is Zingis Pingus?
Yeah, I'm thinking Drew Holiday. I'm looking at stuff right now.
Speaking of basketball, did you guys see that Charles Barkley was interviewed on he was on TSN, and then he did the intermission report on ESPN.
All I heard is they dropped an F-bomb, right?
He dropped the F-bomb on TSN.
That man is a national treasure.
He really is. Again, we said it a couple weeks ago. The fact that they are getting rid of that pregame show is an absolute travesty.
Mm-hmm.
They need to figure out something. Put him on anything. I'll watch him on, the WNBA if we have to. Like, let's just get them going. Is there anything else with the NBA finals? Are we cricking this one out?
I think we're done. I think we're done with the NBA finals, unless you guys are disputing the fact that I think the Celtics are going to win the series.
No, Celtics should win the series.
I'm all for the Imos pizza commercial that is coming with Jason Tatum and what's the name of that trophy?
Larry O'Brien.
Okay, good. I was going to say the Commissioner's Trophy, even though I knew that was the MLB trophy.
Anything else you want to hit on before we call it a night?
No.
Email the show. Any questions you have, really anything, at podridethepine@gmail.com. Tell us any about the segments. Do you think the Edmonton is done? Do you think Boston's winning the series? You can just tell us how much Kenny looks like Jason Kelce or how much Ohio sucks. Does another state suck more than Ohio? Let us know.
Yes, but we'll save that one for the next show.
Perfect. What are we doing the next show, by the way? What's going to be the topic?
Next show, we're going in honor of Angel Hernandez. What is one thing you would eliminate? No, I'm sorry, not one person you would eliminate from sports. We're going to go with what rule change would you make in sports? We're going to not debate, but just what rule do you guys hate? What rule do you want to see changed or already changed that makes a huge difference?
You can tell it's the dog days of summer.
It is. Once we get out of the NBA and NHL, really all we have are NFL OTAs. My God, this is going to be terrible.
Well, there's baseball happening as well. MLS is going on. There's stuff that we can talk about.
There's 40,000 baseball games a week. Like,
that's true. You'd think we'd pick one of them.
Maybe.
All right, let's get out of here. Pod Ride the Pine and on the socials, podridethepine@gmail.com. Let us know what rule you would remove from any sport, really. So, all right, guys, let's get out of here. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you next week.
Adios.
Later.